what do you think the nature of the self is? Because we feel very individual. We feel all of our feelings are extremely unique. Our story's unique, just like our fingerprints are unique. There's a number of things about each person that will never happen again. And yet, on a quantum level, there's this uniformity. And so, where does uniqueness come into the play?
The all that is. That's the only uniqueness that actually has any relevance. The individual uniqueness disappears when you realize that it is part of that deeper ocean, that there is no separation in that. But the uniqueness of it, of that, this is that, that's the only uniqueness. And we are that. We don't have to go striving and looking for an individual uniqueness when in fact our literal being is an expression of that uniqueness. We don't have to strive to become something that we already are. It's like the thing that they always say, it's as close as your breath. No, it's closer than that. It's the beginning of your breath. It's where it comes from.
Right? Yeah, I completely.
And I think, as meat puppets or however you want to describe us, it's a function. We are a function in consciousness. Not a separation of, but a function in consciousness. And again, the greatest
how
aspect
would you define consciousness?
It's like trying to describe reality. It is that which is without context. It is all that we know. It is all that is. It is all that can be perceived as far as we know. I mean, from our perspective. I'm sure there's other perceptions that we don't possess that they can see the other aspects.
Do you believe that the tree has a perspective?
Yeah. But it's not an individual perspective. Again, its perspective is that of the universal consciousness. So it's not a separate perspective, it's a functional perspective.
So why do you think that the universe makes the tree to have that type of consciousness and you, or a person, to have so much more of a unique or sense of separation?
But is it unique? Only from my perspective is it unique. It is just an infinite expression. And if you looked around, you could find the infinites in everything. And when you realize there is no separation, there's none within us either. Because we could break it down. We could say the individual cell, that cell that occupies your heart, that makes the muscle, that makes it pump, that's a unique expression. And how does it feel? Does it feel differently from the whole body? No, it doesn't. It is the unique expression of consciousness that has no differentiation. It has function. That little cell helps the heart muscle beat. So yeah, it's got a function of providing that expression. But again, truly as function. And it doesn't make it any less special because we are the universe as function. We are, the consciousness. I mean, I can't think of anything that would actually be more, and just kind of, I don't even want to say expansive or growth because it doesn't encompass what it is. I mean, it's hard to say just how monumental the seeing of that is.
Yeah, but not, see, like right now, we say it and it's an idea, but your understanding of that is not just based off of an idea.
No.
It's based off of you experiences, and I resonate because I too totally understand. But without those experiences, those ideas would be like someone reading mathematics or some totally foreign language.
Sure.
And so trying to make those experiences tangible so that they're not just this beautiful but just lofty, unreachable idea. Because these experiences aren't like the idea of heaven or the idea of paradise, the idea that it's better somewhere else. These experiences are when Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is here now, not somewhere else. It is not in the afterlife, it is now. But that experience is something that people can only have for themselves. And how do you take your experience and translate that so it's not just words and becomes some tangible thing for someone? That is the real.
Oh, it's a crux, but at the same time, I mean, it's what teachers have been doing all throughout history. The ones who have had a glimpse, or been totally immersed, whatever level you want to say, it's metaphor, it's teaching, it's literally it's the pointing of the moon, whatever when you want to call it. But Buddha did the same thing as Christ. The kingdom of heaven is within you when he's in the charnel grounds with the burning bodies, and Subhuti says, how can you sit here with this blissful look on your face in this hellhole? And he touches the ground in his paradise. That's the metaphor. Heaven is always right where you are. There's no separation. Again,
so how do you
metaphors?
I completely agree with that, but how do we convey that to someone in a war zone or someone who's dying of a sickness? They can have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's the beauty is that experience, no matter how constrictive the conditions are, that experience is always at the heart, and it's always accessible by, I guess it's really going into.
It's what they are. It's the ground
it's
of their
inherent.
being. It is what they can never not be. But again, it's not leading
So
them
would
to
you say that
something.
everything else, all the other stuff, is just fluff on top of
Story.
these?
Yeah, it's story.
But
And
people love
they're
their
fun to tell stories. Why not? Yeah, and again, but don't base your entire existence on them, because it is an illusion. And we do that all the time. I mean, this is accepted reality.
You could say that all the suffering in our culture comes down to people's deep identity with their storyline. But then
the dissatisfaction.
But you do have other people who impose their story on you. So it's like you never get to develop. There are certain people who never get to develop their own story because someone who has more money or more power imposes their story. And so now this person's story becomes nothing but one of having this horrible thing. And how do they see beyond that?
But what a gift for them when they realize they don't need a story.
That's so biblical. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall inherit.
Yeah, the ones who get it don't need the wealth. They realize there is no substance to that.
That's a central core spiritual reality. But it's
the poverty of the mind.
Yeah, Meister Eckhart, one of my favorite theologians, and people often, because the name Eckhart Tolle is so well known, Meister Eckhart has nothing to do with him. But he said that blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And he goes, what is poor in spirit? It is not to be physically poor. That is a type of poverty, but that's a material poverty. Spiritual poverty is when you have no idea of what should be, and you just completely accept God's will as the only reality. And then you are truly poor in spirit, and the kingdom of heaven is yours, because you have no ideas getting in the way of reality, because your will is God's will. What is what you want. And that's a very, very fascinating thing. Yeah, I definitely think there's great magical transformation in that.
Yeah. It's just allowing people to know that they don't have to judge. That is a choice that they make. It's a binary thing.
One of my favorite poems from the 3rd century in China says, I just love this line, don't keep searching for the truth. Just let go of your opinions. Mm-hmm. And that is, it's just like
everybody said it all throughout history. Shakespeare, nothing is either good or evil, but thinking makes it so. And even at the Genesis story with the tree and the fruit, and it's supposedly of knowledge. But I think the original authors understood that it was the tree of judgment. And it was an allegorical tale to tell us that if we start to judge, we will lose paradise. And we have. And we did. I think they were trying to warn people. And then, of course, a couple of thousand years later, some young charismatic guy comes along and says, hey, don't judge, lest ye be judged. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. It's that constant, it's that framework that's been through there all the time. If you want paradise, if you want the kingdom of heaven, stop thinking your life is bullshit. Stop trying to judge it for something that it's not. And see yourself as that function of consciousness.
That is the key. See yourself as that function of consciousness. I think that is what, if I was going to say how to carry ourselves through each day, through each moment, is that to see ourselves as that function of this higher awareness.
Yeah.
And to perceive ourselves, the more you think that, the more you can perceive yourself to be part of a greater whole.
Act as if. See, you take the concept, and even though it is just a concept, you act as if it is reality. And when you do that, like you said, tradition, practice, whatever it is, but it doesn't have to be some sort of a tailored practice. Literally, the individual would do that in whatever way felt comfortable to them. And like I said, it could shift in an instant, or it could be months and years. Who knows? But when you put yourself in that as-if position, then you open that door. Then you open that for that infinite possibility to come in and go, you know what? Yeah, it's easier this way.
It's easier this way. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like us and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified for when we post new videos. We love comments and questions, so we deeply encourage that. Also, we just started a Patreon page where you can become a monthly subscriber to view special videos. Remember, stay in the moment.